Let's see what's happening. Hey, what's going on, everybody? PPI numbers are about to drop. As soon as I see the reaction from the market, I will certainly share what PPI is doing and the influence that it'll have on the market. But the first thing I want to talk about today is how bad China lies. So China was saying for like a couple of weeks now, they've only had 6,000 deaths. COVID satellite imaging shows, oh man, PPI must have came in light because the Dow is spiking. And we'll get back to China. Okay, it's completely mixed. It's up 100. It's only up 50. It's up 84. PPI numbers are coming out. I'll read them to you as they come across.
November actually was revised down too, so a little less inflation up the chain there. Let me see if I can give you some other.
See what we have here.
Intermediate demand, final demand. Let's see, did that. Okay. You see, I don't have retail sales yet, so give you a little bit.
They're not. Retail sales are due out at the same time. They're not talking about that. They haven't mentioned the PPI number yet. The Dow is just fluctuating.
Food and energy up 0.2. Let me just see here. Final demand. Oh, that's the main number.
PPI down 0.5% versus 0.1%. Should be positive, but again, it's not much information yet.
That's really the question as to whether or not the consumer. We talked yesterday about the consumer having the wherewithal to spend, but whether or not they do that. We expect X autos being down 0.5%.
It's coming in line. PPI X food and energy 0.1% up. Estimated was up 0.1%. All right, well, I'll keep this in the background. We'll see what the market does, how it settles out. But let's just get to the main points because that's interesting, but this is going to have an effect on the market. So what's happening in China is having a mass influence of COVID-related deaths. However, China was saying for weeks they only lost 6,000 of their people. Let's keep in mind the Chinese population is clear over 3 billion. There were satellite images of morgues being backed up with just body after body after body. Then China finally came out a day ago and said, okay, we've had 60,000 deaths. That's probably like 10x short. They're probably closer to 600,000 deaths. Now, here's the catch, right? Chinese New Year happens at the end of January. So about 1 or 2 weeks out, you're going to have the Chinese New Year. That goes forward. They have a party for about 3 weeks. Factory is closed. Everything is closed. People are celebrating. People are getting together. What is this going to do? Well, there's one word I want to look for. Super spreader, okay? So here's the thing. COVID is going to run wild through China, okay? And it'll probably take 3 to 4 weeks to happen. So you're saying the Chinese New Year ended January, going 2 weeks into February, beginning of March. I'm seeing a huge decline in the Chinese economy because it'll be a super spreader. So what does that mean? It also means as it spreads around, you get new variants forming. So our antivirals that worked on the previous COVID strains might not work on the new strains that will be forming in the upcoming week. So that's crazy. New strains. And then we have the debt ceiling. So a lot of people are saying, okay, debt ceiling, what's happening? If we don't fund the government properly, the government will default on certain loans. Now, the government has never defaulted on loans. So when we're talking about debt ceiling, that we need to raise the debt ceiling because we're going to run out of money by May. Everybody's putting a deadline of this Thursday on that. But understand, we have enough money to go through about the end of May. So the two sides, the Democrats and Republicans, probably aren't really going to start talking about debt ceiling until like April, until there's almost no time left to discuss the debt ceiling. And the White House is saying right now, we're not going to budge. We're not giving in anything on this debt ceiling. You want to push the country into, not paying its debts, Republicans? Go ahead. And the Republicans are saying, hey, it's not on us. You're the president and you better do something. So there's going to be back and forth, and they're going to look to get concessions from each other side. But the real talks are probably not going to start until like April or May. I don't know why my TV just stopped here. Let's just see where the market's at right here. So yeah, my point is China lies. Now, the good news is China's actually getting together, and I've heard they're speaking to Moderna about possible vaccines. But again, who knows? That was rumored about 6 or 7 weeks ago. Moderna popped to about $215. I'm just looking at the market right now. It kind of looks like it might want to turn red, which would not be a surprise because we're going to get to the SPY numbers. Now, here's the thing heading into today. Why today was so tricky. Again, you had the PPI numbers. They came in line. We're back to where Dow futures were pre-PPI announcement, which were like plus 15, plus 20. I saw futures go up to as much as 120. They were red until 10 p.m. last night. But last night at 10 p.m., the U.S. dollar declined, right? It was sitting at 102.83. Now it's under 102, and the market spiked. From being red, it went green. So with that said, there are a couple of things I wanted to talk about. I took some pictures of it so I could actually bring them up. Okay, so there were a couple of large trades after hours. SQQQ, 1.2 million after hours, which is 56 times the average price. So it's telling me watch for the rug pull. It's the largest transaction after hours since December 23rd. Again, that's the SQQQ, which means tech goes down, SQQQ goes up. It's an inverse. Now, here's the other thing. The weekly flow map has gotten extremely confusing because understand those calls, which outnumber the puts over 2 to 1. I mentioned this number yesterday. I think it was 2.6 versus 1.4 or 2.4 versus 1.6. About 2/3 are in calls. Thinking yesterday's down market, the Dow went down 300 points. Some of those call options would exit and maybe even flip over to the put side. Well, that shit didn't happen. The flow, short-term flow, traders have either gotten very complacent or they know that the short-term rally is in store because the flow map is still extremely bullish, even though it turned slightly. But if you look at expirations on the 20th, January 20th, right, which is this week, it's extremely call heavy. You don't really get to the put side heavy until May. So I just mentioned debt ceiling. We're not really going to see the argument of the debt ceiling really coming to fruition until April, May. Well, that's when all the puts are really being bought. For May, for the mid-year, remember, going into this year, I predicted something between an 11 to 15% rally in the first quarter. As the market's dropping, I thought the markets would rally 11. Now, here's the point. The first quarter is comprised of about 70 trading days. We're about 14 trading days in, and the markets have already ripped higher, probably like 6 or 7%. So we're talking about like 12% of the timing has been used, and the market's already fulfilled their 50% quota to the upside. So I'd be extremely cautious on the market right now. If you want to find certain stocks to get bullish on, then yes, I mean, I can talk about the same stocks over and over. Dow plays include airlines, which I've been saying for weeks. Boeing was 184. Boeing's 212. Would I look to get into Boeing now? No. The same thing with United Airlines. United Airlines was 39 this morning. It's going to open. They just had earnings. It's opening at $53 or $54. So you're talking about a 15-point move from $39. That's about 42% to the upside in like 8 or 9 trading days. So there are stocks that worry me that just moved too quickly. You saw Roblox move ridiculously hard yesterday off of the number of hours being used. It doesn't mean these kids are spending more money on their Roblox game. It just means they're spending more time on the game. So people, convert time into money. That's not the case. So I'm not buying Roblox. You can look at Tesla. Tesla, which they've been loading into calls, and people on our platform know this because it's all in the Discord. It's all into the flows and algos room. Tesla has been loading the boat on calls since Thursday of last week. So we are now Wednesday. So you're talking about Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. 4 straight days, they're going extremely heavy on Tesla call options. And where do we see Tesla pre-market? It's probably up like 4%. Now, here's the catch. They lowered pricing in China. Since they lowered pricing in China, which happened a week ago, Tesla sales in China are up like 34%. So that's pretty crazy. I'm just looking at the SPY. SPY had a major spike off PPI and then a drop. So that makes me happy. Why? Because I actually expect the markets to drop. The Dow just turned red. Again, the Dow was off 300 points yesterday. Tech or the NASDAQ was actually positive yesterday. Let's just come up with a positive number because the NASDAQ's going to be the real fight. I mean, it was up 15 points yesterday. The Dow's down 391 yesterday. What do I expect? Well, history tends to repeat itself. So whatever we saw in the market yesterday, it's the easiest solution for me to say heading into today's what my game plan is. I'm going to use the movement from yesterday. I'm going to assume we're going to see the same movement today. So some of your stocks were up 2, 3, 4% yesterday. I'm going to look for the same type of movement today. Some of your stocks were down 2, 3, 4% yesterday. I'm going to look for the same movement today. So I'm going to find stocks that might be ripping pre-market that were down 2, 3, 4% yesterday that I expect to go down 2, 3, 4% today. And when they're ripping, let's say pre-market or at market open, I will enter puts. Decent strategy. History tends to repeat itself. We saw the same thing yesterday. Let's talk about Goldman. Goldman Sachs came out with earnings yesterday. We said how shit they were pre-market. I came on live. Goldman spiked as the market opened to $366. I expected Goldman to sell off. What happened? Goldman sold off, went from $366 to, I believe, $344. Again, a 22-point move. But as you and I are playing options, 22-point move can take your option from like $800 to like $2,600. It could be a massive 200 to 300% move there. The same way Roblox was on fire yesterday, popping 15% pre-market. I decided to fade it a little at $38 because I thought that was a little ridiculous, and I did think the market was going down. All right. Cool chick. She made 30% on Tesla calls. Yeah, when Tesla keeps ripping, you keep doing the same thing day after day. Let's remember in 2020, when Tesla literally went up 5% every day, I have friends, and I didn't get involved because I wasn't heavily trading at the time. I was more sitting on the sidelines saying, I just can't believe Tesla ripped another 5% today. They were going and re-entering Tesla options day after day, week after week, turning $10,000 clear north of $1.6 million. So Tesla was making millionaires. I mean, when I said that in 2020 and 2021 about Tesla, it was true. Do I think that's going to continue? You have to understand, Kathy's been buying 100,000 Tesla shares in the open market. Kathy manipulates the market. So what does that mean? It means at key points of the day, Kathy and her ARK fund are buying Tesla, making Tesla look a little more supported than it might actually be. So yeah, I mean, I'd be worrying about Tesla. Tesla's been ripping. If the market decides to rip lower, because there are economists that say, the worst isn't over. And I happen to be one of those people in the boat saying the same thing. I mean, the market ripped for the first 2 weeks of the new year. I'm expecting some consolidation. I'm expecting some comeback. Let's talk about the SPY. We can talk about different SPYs, ranges, but let me just bring up Discord to show you guys how I start out my morning. So the first two things I do in the morning is I look at the net flow of the market and the net flow of the SPY. So I've got that on the screen. Let me just make sure it's nice and big. Let's see if we can make it even bigger. Nope. Having my face there or not doesn't change the size. Excellent. Okay. So what do we see? Here's the market net flow. Top line, we see puts right here, right around the 400 level. Well, we know 400 or 399 and change has been rejection. I mentioned that going into yesterday. I mentioned that going into the day before. So yeah, that hasn't changed. So until the SPY breaks 400 to the north side, I believe it's going down every time it hits 399.80, 399.70, something like that. Then we'll look at the price of calls. Price of calls slightly fading a little. Then you have your stock price or your market price. Again, had a rough day, choppiness yesterday, opened up, popped. It popped in the morning. What do? It faded to the low. And then we always revisit this low. So even though it looks like a rebound, like you're like, okay, I called the bottom. It's going to rebound. Tried to drop here, rebound again. End of day, drop back down to the low. What does that tell me about the market? It tells me I'm still a bear and I have a reason for being a bear. Then we'll look at the net flow of the SPY. Now, what do you notice about everything else? Well, you can notice a few things. Number one, if you look at the call premiums for the SPY, they're consistently down here. It hasn't moved. There's no spike. It's even dropping slightly and slightly. What do you know about the net premiums for puts for the SPY? Holy shit, we had a spike here, probably around 2 p.m. What happened? We had another spike to close out the day. Again, it tells me bearish. So even though after hours we were seeing downturn, then upturn, then we had PPI, then the market shot up 100 points. Then it shot down 100 points and went red, and now we're probably just flat. But what does that tell me? I'm looking at the net flow for both the market, the net flow for the SPY, and it tells me it's still bearish. Now, again, what gets me is when you look at the options flow, I expected call holders to sell and take profit yesterday. They did not. Calls still outnumber puts. So as far as the option plays go, people are still more bullish than bearish, understanding that it takes more than one day to flip perception in the market. We've been bullish since January 1st, since the start of the new year. We're only at like what, January 17th, something like that, January 18th today. So understand we've had 17 days, probably about 12 trading days. Of those 12 trading days, you probably had 10 net inflow days, 2 outflow days. What am I going to believe? If I don't know anything about the market and someone tells me 10 inflow, 2 outflow, I'm going to say, okay, well, the likelihood is 79% of the time so far, we're going to have a green day. So without knowing anything about the market, I could just say 79%, we're going to have a green day. Every 3 out of every 4 days is going to be green. Yesterday was red. Today should be green. However, if there is a flip in the market dynamic and we are going to fade the market highs, because remember, when we get over, and I mentioned this comment yesterday, so please join me every morning. 72% of stocks are over their, I believe, 200-day moving average. Generally, when we get to 75 or 76% of stocks, all stocks over their 200-day moving average, that's usually the top end of the rally. So the fact that we're getting close to the top end of the rally tells me how much higher could we go? There is recession. I don't believe China. People are spending their savings. People are using their credit cards, can't pay their credit card debt. Shit, does that sound good for the economy? Not really. But understand, big money, 80-20 rule, right? 80% of the market is controlled by 20% of the people, all right? It's probably 90-10. It's probably 90% of the market is controlled by the 10 richest people that invest in the market, funds, hedge funds, things of that nature. That's why you see manipulation. When the top echelon or a small minority of groupings control the majority of the market and market direction, then it's not really up to you and I to say, okay, China's lying, recession coming, COVID spiking, market should go down. See, here was the catch yesterday. As the US dollar goes up, the market should go down. As the market goes up, the US dollar should go down. You know, flippity floppity. Here's the thing. The US dollar was spiking yesterday. The market was going up at the same time. So I'm just going to look at that this morning because that's how I start every day. I want to look at the US dollar. Again, it went from 102.83 under 102. So you can just see that real quick. We're back at 101.90. You could see the drop. And this is since like 10 p.m. last night. So the US dollar literally dropped a full 1%, which is extremely positive for the market. Now, what does that mean? It means you have to, a lot of people borrow money, hedge money, marginalize their funds to invest in the market. As the cost of the US dollar goes down, it means they can invest in our markets at a cheaper price. So I'm just going to zoom out real quick. I'm going to look at the US dollar in more of a 5-day chart. Now, when you look at the 5-day chart, and just look with me, okay? What do you see? Well, you see that line across the bottom right there? It's kind of holding constant, right? So the US dollar hasn't dropped below that point where we are right now. So what does that tell me? Well, it tells me if the market's going to be strong right now, pre-market, when the US dollar is at its lowest, that's when the market's going to be strongest. What do I expect to happen? I expect the US dollar to go back up to that middle range right here, probably 102. Let me give you a spot on prediction, 102.38. And that's going to happen sometime this morning. And when that does happen and the US dollar spikes back up, 0.5% or 50 basis points to 102.38 from 101.90, you're going to see the market, which is Dow's up 51 points right now, it's going to turn red. So again, keep your eye on the US dollar. All right, now let's talk about the SPY and SPY ranges real quick. And then we'll get to any questions you guys have. SPY and SPY ranges. There's one number you got to pay attention to. There's one number you have to pay attention to. Hopefully you guys see that. It is 400. 400 is a key level in the SPY. So if I want to be, and I'll give you 2 scenarios. Let's say I want to be bullish in the market. The SPY better break 400. And when I say 400, I mean 400 and like 60 cents. It can't just break 400 slightly. It needs to break it, and then it needs to hold 400 as support. Understanding the next level higher on the SPY is 402.50. This is your bull case scenario. We break 400. It holds, then it shoots right up to 402.50. It holds that, and then it shoots up to 405. All right. That would be where, I could see bull case scenario going. Most, what would it be? I'll give you the bear case scenario. Bear case scenarios, we reject the 399 level where we're probably sitting pre-market. The SPY is sitting pre-market at 399.09 right now. So we go up to 399.90. We just right about 400. It rejects. We see the same thing as yesterday. And we're back down where we started or we closed yesterday, which is 398 and change. Then we hit the 397. Understanding after hours yesterday, we crossed the low. So the low on yesterday was 397.06. After hours yesterday, before the market flipped at like 10 p.m., say like 6 p.m., the SPY was sitting at 396.80 something. So we went under yesterday's low. So again, I'm still apprehension in the market. As far as me trading, I mentioned this to my Discord. I've actually traded less. Why? Because I'm not going to fight the momentum of the market, but there's no way I'm jumping on that bus. There's no way I'm getting on going, yeah, okay, Tesla's going to fly even higher. I mean, Tesla, maybe I could jump on or something like that because the calls so outnumber the puts. But, to me, it's just a risky market, and I don't like that. Oh, shit. Now that I have a lot of you here, tomorrow morning, 9:15, it's free. You don't have to be part of our Discord. Just make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Romeo's going live, and he goes live for about an hour. The greatest thing when he goes live about 9:15 is he starts out telling you about his trades that he's looking to enter from 9:30 on when the market opens. So he'll stay with you guys for about an hour doing live trading, showing you how to use candlesticks, showing you what he's looking for as far as reversal, showing you and telling you exactly what options he's looking to enter into. And then when he secures profit, he doesn't just tell you I'm buying the QQQs and doesn't tell you the exit strategy. So again, that's 9:15 tomorrow morning. I'll still be going on at 8:30, but I'm talking about the market in general, different ranges that have support and resistance. Romeo is giving you the live trades. If you're not on our Discord and you want it for free, well, YouTube once a week, Thursday morning of this week, 9:15, please join. Okay, so again, SPY level, 400. Bull case scenario, if we break 400 and it holds, you're going to see 402.50, and then the next line up is about 405. If it breaks underneath, we'll get later to Las Vegas Sands. I don't really look at Las Vegas Sands yet, so we'll get back to that in a minute. We can look at that on Discord. But if it breaks bear case scenario, again, would not surprise me if we see 395 today. I mean, that's it. Unless the market is just going to stay strong and just step up all day. And if it does, then okay, I'll be on the sidelines again. I don't have to fight the market trend. I'm not overly anxious to invest or gamble in the market when it's going counter to what my beliefs are. So again, my beliefs are I'm going to look for the high today. Now, yesterday, I got into some SPY puts at 410 cents, which was great. It even went to 423 cents. So it went a little higher. I started out red for the first minute or two. Then the SPY dropped 399, 398, 397.50. I got out. I didn't even call the absolute bottom, but I knew that was my trading strategy. So I'm having the same trading strategy going today. As the SPY is sitting at, and we'll tell you right now, pre-market, 399.12. So it was 399.08, 399. I'm going to look for rejection. I'm going to look for rejection slightly over 400 like I did yesterday, plus or minus, 20 cents. I'm not going to over leverage myself. So this is how I enter into SPY. I will pick out a position. I'll say SPY 397 puts. I'm going to go out till Friday. Today being Wednesday, I want to give myself Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 3 days to be correct. When I enter into position, I'm going to buy 1 or 2 contracts to start. Why? Because when you start and you buy a contract at 9:30 or 9:45 or something to that extent, you have the time remaining on today's trade, and then you have Thursday and Friday. If I get the same trade because the SPY is at the same point in the afternoon, my option position will be down 10, 20%, so I can buy them cheaper. Again, it's more of like a dip your toe in, test out the waters kind of thing. All right, so let's get into some questions. Las Vegas Sands, I saw a question. So I don't really know about Las Vegas Sands, so let's pull it up here. Let's look at the flows on Las Vegas Sands. Look at the net flow, LVS. Again, with people believing China is going to improve, Las Vegas Sands, the casinos should improve, understanding they bring the majority of their income and their revenue from Macau. If Macau closes, if China starts reporting, numbers of real people that dying, they should really close the borders and be a little more stringent, but they're not. So again, there's not crazy activity, but you can see it is bullish. You can see the call line is up here. The price is up here. The put premiums are down here. They're negative. There was a little negativity on the 17th. But since then, must have lasted not very long at all. It's probably yesterday morning. And since yesterday morning, it's grown. So then we can look at the flow in algos again. So we'll look at algo flow for Las Vegas Sands. Let's just make sure you guys can see this. You can. Perfect. And the algo flow, it's telling you, hey, it's going to go up, and it has gone up. So again, I don't chase. To me, this would be chasing. When you see it, I would rather see some type of bullish divergence on something like that. And we'll look at the flow sum just to see where everybody's situated with Las Vegas Sands. No, there is no flow sum because there's not enough volume. When there's not enough volume, the number's going to come up, invalid or something to that extent. All right, with that said, got a busy morning this morning. Gonna head over to Discord. If you guys have any questions, bring them over to Discord. Tag myself, tag Romeo, tag Love, tag anybody, and say, hey, what do you guys think of this? Put options on, whatever it is, Google, or call options on Apple or NVIDIA. I mean, yesterday's watch list was on fire. Those NVIDIA calls were through the roof. I saw a number of members took them. Again, we post this shit pre-market, so it's up there. We have, the watch list that tells you calls above this level, puts below this level. Once you see the stock spike past the level or spike below the level, okay, time to enter. When you enter, those NVIDIA calls were on fire yesterday. Appreciate everybody joining me this morning. Please thumbs up, comment, question, anything, just please ask. I'll be back tomorrow morning. And again, Romeo will be doing a live stream tomorrow morning, 9:15. I'll see everybody on Discord shortly. Thanks for joining me this morning.